This is the Revved Up Sports Show with Bobby Chaffee.
We do have this nice little format that we try to follow every week. We don't usually follow it.
And Rodney Rodriguez.
Entertain me. Tell me something. I need to know something other than what I'm seeing.
Y'all ready? All right, here we go. Here's Bobby and Rodney.
Yo, friends, you know it's your favorite time of the week. It is hashtag Real Race Talk coming to you live from Texas on a chilly night here in anticipation of an 80-degree Christmas Day. Welcome to one of the first holiday editions of the Revved Up Sports Show. That's Showtime, Bobby Chaffee. I'm Rodney Rodriguez. Thank you all for being a part of this great program. Jerry Babb's going to join us here in just a little bit. And then a guest, a South Texas promoter will jump in and kind of give us an idea of what's going on in his world. So we'll have you that here in just a little bit. But Bobby, my man, have you bought all of your presents? I know you're going on the road tomorrow. You're going to Frisco, and I just got back from Arlington. And, man, DFW, leave early, my friend. Leave early. Hey, y'all hear that? It's the Brusso Bell.
The Brusso Bell.
The Brusso Bell makes an appearance. I got to tell you, Bobby, the best part is for me, damn, it smells good.
It smells like fresh paint.
This is real done. I mean, this is done the right way. I'd half-ass this thing. I'd use some Krylon on that. Take away for that.
Oh yeah, well, just like a body shop.
There it is. The Brusso Bell, a new fixture, holiday ready, my man.
Did you change cameras, or are we just changing angles today?
No, no, man. We're still doing the same thing. We just, I think we look good.
I mean, it's a little closer than normal, but...
Well, we're showing all our beauty. For me, I've got all my wrinkles. For all my friends that were at Snowball Derby that heard my story of me losing my glasses, for crying out loud. I mean, somewhere, I think in Bruce Wright's RV are my glasses. But it was okay because I had an old prescriptions. But, man, here we go. Brand new specs. I like them. They're clear. But yeah, it's closer, I think. I want the people to get to see our beauty.
Well, I mean, I wish I'd have known or dressed up a little better for the show.
But, man, you look just great. Actually, you look grayer than me today, my man.
I know.
I actually trimmed myself up a little bit.
I did too. After Gina gave me the grief about being real fuzzy a couple of shows ago, I decided to go off and get a nice little beard trim. So
I was actually trying today to find myself a haircut. Because, I'm a big spender. I go to Supercuts or, wherever the places are. And, man, I was checking the trackers there where you can, like, type in your zip code and it tells you, whatever. It was like 170 minutes. I mean, there was nothing close. I'm like, dude, I just need a haircut. I just need to trim some of this off and get rid of some of the gray and just make it look better. But, man, I just couldn't do it. I said it's holiday season. Apparently, it's freaking haircut season too. Because I look like shit, and Well, here we are with the close angle.
Everybody's got to get a nice little haircut done before their family comes in. You don't want your mom or grandma to give you shit about not having a nice haircut.
I just want to
coming over for Christmas dinner.
I just want to trim some of the hair off my ears and the back and all of that. You know, as you get older, look here, man. I've got a thinning hairline, dude.
Mine doesn't thin out. It's getting grayer, but mine hadn't thinned out a whole lot.
I wish that I had your hair because I don't have that, and that's not good. That's not good for me. Whatever. I think at some point, I told the wife a while back, I said, look, when it all comes down to it and it continues to thin, I'm just going to shave this thing off. I got this big old scar in the back that makes me look like a badass. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do.
I can't wait to see that.
Cue ball double R. That'll look good.
Can't wait to see that.
But so are you? Speaking of that, because we're into holiday week. Christmas is Saturday. So are you in tune and ready to go? I know. I think that we were talking before the show. We're both in holiday mode. I think with our significant others, where we're kind of tailing off a little bit of the buying shit.
Yeah, we had to buy a new TV because TV ate itself. So that took a little bit out of the budget that would normally be used for Christmas presents with each other. We had the new smoker that we had to buy because the smoker decided to eat itself.
Had to buy.
Well, we had to cook Thanksgiving dinner. That bird wasn't going to smoke itself.
That's right.
But no, we had to do that. And then the dishwasher broke, so we got to spend money with the dishwasher. So that's just kind of throwing off the bank a little bit. Plus, going to the bowl game, spending a little bit extra time and money up in North Texas for the supporting the school and stuff like that. So that's not that we're out of budget with the bowl game, but when you go into an extra game, you don't think that you're going to go to. Sometimes you got to prepare a little bit better for it. So
yeah, it's very fun. So we are right towards the end right here, and we want to get your thoughts on everything, guys. We do have the Revved Up Sports Show question of the week. What? Deborah's checking in. Yeah, okay. Well, I won't. Now, I'm not going to shave the bell, Deborah. Don't worry about that. The bell stays intact. And thank you very much for helping coordinate all of that. That was a nice surprise. I woke up at I'd like to impress people and say I woke up at 6 a.m. this morning and it was sitting on my doorstep. Dude, I'm a bachelor this week.
I'll bet you hadn't been up before 10 o'clock.
Man, my people are in New York. I woke up this morning at about 8:30 and I'm like, okay, got to do some work. Yeah, and there was the bell sitting on my front doorstep over at the crib. So here is your Revved Up Sports Show question of the week. And I don't care where you are, whether you're in the Southeast or up north or whatever it is. Here is the question of the week. Feel free to check in. You read it.
So the Revved Up Sports Show question of the week brought to us by Lone Star Speed Zone. Don't forget to check out Lone Star Speed Zone for all of your Texas racing history. Trying to expand out to the Southeast racing history too. But the question of the week: what is the biggest short track highlight for you in 2021? And give the 2021 season a letter grade. Comment down in the Facebook feed there so that you can so everybody knows. You might even put hashtag RussQOTW, so we know when you start talking that's the Russ question of the week.
There it is. And Gina, yes, I am up early. Sometimes I don't reply. I have to go ride my bike. So cut me some slack there. Gina over here talking about I'm never up early. She's like texting me at 4:55 a.m.
Is she an hour ahead of us in Mobile? No, Mobile's in the
hell
same
no.
time
It's
frame.
the same time. It's the same time, but she's a go-getter. so she's up way early than I am. But yeah, great stuff. You guys check in on that question there because it's been a crazy year. I mean, give us your highlight and give it a letter grade. I mean, for wherever you are, and don't feel bad. I mean, A+ are good. I mean, give it an F. I mean, whatever. But I would like to speculate that I think that despite everything that we've been through, Bobby, that 2021 has been really good. Really, really good because we had no idea what we were jumping into. And I'm pretty satisfied with what we've been through.
I think it's turned out really well myself as far as everything going. I think that there's a way to make things better than what we could have been. Uh-oh, just lost my feed. But yeah, I mean, I think all in all, the the 2021 season, I don't. As strange as it sounds, even with COVID, I don't feel as though it's been as a successful monetarily as it was in 2021 because we had a lot more of the seasonal stuff happen.
Yeah,
had the freeze take out a lot of track stuff, a couple of special events they had coming in where the tracks could make one extra show in February and get some money coming in. But I think that the 2020 I think had a bigger fan count because there still wasn't anything else to do in 2020. Now that stuff was opening back up, it was back to some of the same challenges that the racetracks are facing. But Mother Nature, you give Mother Nature an F just because of all the rainouts there towards the beginning, the middle part of the season, especially for our buddy Owen down there. Texana had a bunch of rainouts down there. And so we can, start with that letter grade. But I think all in all, or at least around Texas-wise, once the racing season got going, everything kind of turned out the way that it should have for the most part.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think the main thing is as well that we all need to, like we've talked, so many times, we need to support the racetracks and do everything that we can to help make this continue to grow. And I think that we should all look at the fact that we've gotten through a 2020 that was, look at 2020. It changed the world. It changed the world.
It still changed.
Yeah, and we still got races in 2021. We had a lot of tracks up across the Gulf Coast and here in Texas that were able to get races in. The weather thing is something that you're never going to beat Mama Nature. She's going to kick your ass every time, and you have no chance with that. But I think that folks figured out in 2020 how to be ready to deal with prospective problems or whatever. I think that 2021, the highlight for me is that racetracks were prepared and ready. And I think a lot of that, NASCAR has taught us a lot. They set a nice blueprint and, there's a lot of tracks. I go to racetracks and I see stuff posted about, precautions about washing hands and all that. And I'm like, so are they really, are they blowing smoke up my ass or whatever? They're ready. They're seriously ready.
They're ready for it. Well,
everything is right everywhere. There. Yep.
A lot of places encourage masks, but they're not mandatory, right?
Right.
That's the general rule of the CDC is, they encourage masks, and whether or not this Omicron variant or whatever you want to call it's going to create issues. Who knows? But I don't know. It's good to see that at least we're getting closer to 2022.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the whole thing is it's been an ongoing battle. And I think the thing is that we all rally together and we continue to work at this. And we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. I think so.
I think we'll be all right.
I think so. Let's go to the Lone Star Speed Zone hotline. Again, we're jumping in. We get to talk to folks from all around the country, and here is just another one from up north. From up north, one of our great new friends, and a big shout out to Phil Whipple that helped put this together. And what a great service Phil has done for Revved Up here in 2021. We are talking to the winning crew chief from the Snowball Derby, and it's so much a greater story than just being the winning crew chief. It's Jerry Babb. Jerry, how you doing, sir?
Doing great up here in the frozen tundra of Maine. Whopping 12 degrees right now.
The frozen tundra. So that's one of those things. So Jerry, I have never been that far up north. We had a freeze up here, and I have a picture on my phone to where it was actually like 7 degrees in Texas in February. Is it really that damn cold up there?
It does seem like it because we had unseasonably warm weather for all of November. And so it was 60 degrees when it should be about 30. So when we get down into the teens, it seems like it's way below colder than it's supposed to be.
Wow.
And think Phil was telling us about he was getting ready to hunker down for the wintertime. He was not kidding either when he said that. I didn't realize 12 degrees was going to be that cold till it was like 14 for a solid week in Texas, and all of our pipes busted, and everybody was stuck, stranded without power and water for like 10 days. It was like an apocalypse down here.
We're prepared for it. Us native Mainers realize that winter is always going to come and it's going to bite you in the butt eventually. So you're ready for it. Eventually you accept it. You do not really want it, but you accept it, and you either snowmobile or ski or one of the winter sports, ice fishing. So there are ways to enjoy the weather.
Yeah, no doubt. So Jerry, talk about it for you. I mean, gratifying with that win there, being a part of that the Donnie Wilson team. We'll get to that shortly. But your story. I mean, I always say the best guys to run a race team are guys that have been behind the wheel, that have done everything, that start out in those entry level classes, that drive their asses off. Give us a whole description of your life through the racing world.
Well, I was born into a racing family. My dad and uncles all raced, and my brothers and cousins, we all helped on the race cars from the age that Mom would let us into the garage, so to speak. And so that's all we've ever known. We come from a family of loggers, and you work hard during the day, and then you race hard during the weekend. And like I said, the whole family raced. I didn't start racing until I was nearly 30 years old because I saw what it took to do it right, and I knew once I got in that I wasn't going to start if I couldn't do it at the top level of being prepared and having good equipment. And it was good and bad. That first year I raced, I think I put on 3 front clips, so it made me a darn good fabricator. Wished I had saved my money a little bit for later on in my career, but we raced mainly at Oxford Plains Speedway up in Maine and did a little bit of touring with the Pass Series when it first started, and ran a couple Bush North races and led my first ever race that I entered in Bush North at Beech Ridge. And then in 2001, I just couldn't afford to race anymore. So my wife and I decided to move to North Carolina, didn't have a job. Steve Levitt hired me, and I was building race cars, and he found me a job crew chiefing for a guy named Jody Lavender out of South Carolina, and we had some fun. And then I got to play crew chief for Mike Stefanik, and that I was actually just watching a video of his car is being taken down to the NASCAR Hall of Fame, and it was just a really cool thing to somebody that I consider a great friend and probably the greatest race driver I ever worked with, to actually be in the NASCAR Hall of Fame. That is a really cool thing.
Yeah, I bet you could write a book just on all the stories that you and Mike were able to tell back and forth. What's some of your favorite memories there? I mean, obviously, to pick one would probably be an injustice to the whole story, but any of them that pop out right on top of your head, that when I say what's your favorite memory, what's the first one that pops up in your head?
There's a lot of great memories. The favorite one, Mike Stefanik and I were a little bit closer than we ever realized. We had the same mentality as far as racing. We won a big race at Loudon, New Hampshire with the old Bush North Series, and everybody's happy as can be, and he and I are talking about the next race, how we're going to be better for the next race. And it just made me realize that, you live for the moment. You enjoy it then, but you're only as good as your last day racing. And luckily for me, one of my highlights is being part of that Snowball Derby winning team with Donnie Wilson's bunch, Chandler Smith, and Bon Suss, that whole group. And like I said, you're only as good as your last race, and to go out on top this year, it's like, wow, I'm king of the world. So great feeling.
No doubt. Jerry, let me ask you, Donnie Wilson, he's a friend of ours. He's been on this show several different times, and he was an old, racer right here. He was the invader from Oklahoma, that came to race in Texas back in the day. Talk about, to watch that team and what Donnie has done, and the fleet of cars that he has, the drivers, and most importantly, the team, yourself included. Talk about Donnie's job that he has done. That is a badass team that he has put together.
It is. There aren't even words to describe it. I've been talking to Bon Suss, the general manager for him and crew chief, and we'd been trying to put something together most of the summer long, but I was committed to a team up here in Maine, and we could never quite make things happen. And then for the Governor's Cup at New Smyrna, everything opened up. He says, come on down, you're going to play crew chief for Chandler Smith. And I ended up driving down and helping set the car up, and I walk into the shop, and I was in awe. Donnie's always had beautiful equipment, but when I walked into that shop and saw 6 race cars that were as nice a late model race cars I've ever seen just sitting there, it's like, oh, we have 2 already loaded into the hauler. I go, what? And my mouth just dropped. And what they've assembled there is it's almost unbelievable. It was such a great great opportunity for me to be part of that team because races are won back in the shop, and the preparation on these cars, it's second to none. Donnie's assembled a great team, letting Bon Suss, run the team for him and assemble it while he's back in Oklahoma making money for the team to keep on going and whatnot. But
right.
The people in the shop, Dennis Dean and all, I mean, it's just awesome people.
So obviously winning the Derby is probably a cool moment. We were talking to Clark last week and was on the show, and we asked him about the difference between the Oxford 250 and the Snowball Derby, that they're both unique races in their own right. Having been around both for a long time, what's the main difference between the Derby? It seems like everybody nationally wants to come to the Derby, but it doesn't seem like a lot of guys, for whatever reason, don't want to come up and run Oxford and try to run head to head with you guys.
It's a different deal. I mean, the Oxford 250 is a great race, and it's gone through a lot of changes. I mean, originally it was an open competition race, then it turned into a Busch Grand National race, and then back to a late model race, and it's ebbed and flowed, and is really still in a strong point going forward. The downside to it is in the middle of summer where other people have points races going on and all such. Right. Snowball Derby, there's nothing, that's the last race of the year. So, there's no excuse. If you want to go to it, there's no other race against it. Go race and, see how you stack up against the very best.
Yeah.
I think they're both very important races. They're just all, two totally different races at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jerry, I think one of the things that has become really obvious in the last few years is obviously, folks think of the South, when you have the Snowball. I mean, that's the event, whatever. But man, there is such great late model racing in the South, in the Gulf Coast. But man, with you guys up there, and then on the West Coast, I mean, guys like Derek Thorne, I mean, there's so many great late model short track racers all across the country, and I think people are finally freaking realizing this.
I really do hope so. It would be great if somehow, the television coverage was great by, the Speed 51 crew. It's really too bad it's not on national TV. Like NASCAR is, because the racing, these people that are down there are doing it not because Daddy had money so they can afford to do it. There are several that are like that, but people are doing it for the passion of wanting to be part of that race and part of the whole scenario that goes around with that. I mean, we were down there for 9 days, and it was, from the first day we were there were just people just wanting to be, see what's going on, asking questions, just wanting to be part of what they were experiencing.
So, Jerry, the coolest part of winning the Derby is that Tom Dawson trophy, right? Now, granted, the crew chief name doesn't get etched on that trophy. The driver's name gets etched on that trophy and get puts on all the T-shirts. And it's kind of a double-sided question, and it's going to be the same question a little bit of both ways. Is it more fun, even though when you get through the Room of Doom, get through Ricky's stuff, completely ripping apart a car, is it more fun to win the race on the racetrack, or is it even more rewarding for you to win the race when you get through the Room of Doom?
A little bit of both. It's one of those deals that, we worked hard all week long, and we changed 3 engines in that car before Monday morning.
Wow.
Our primary engine was brand spanking new. It made 5 laps before a parts failure. Engine guy did a great job, but it just had a parts failure. We put our backup engine in the car, and we made a 50-lap run on Sunday night before we called it a day, and then we realized that engine had quite a few miles on it. So we took the backup car out of the box, took the engine out of that, took the engine out of the primary car, swapped them again. And this was all before Monday. And it's like, all right, we won the battle before the race started. And then once the race started, it's just one of those things. It's like, all right. And I asked our engine builder, Jeremy, I says, what's the deal here? We all set. He says, you're 100% legal. So I had no fears whatsoever going through the Room of Doom. Ricky Brooks is a fair individual. He is going to find something if it's there. And it's kind of humorous. We saw each other at PRI the week after, and he says, "Can you believe all the things they were saying about us?" I said, "They didn't say anything bad about me. They were talking about you, Brett." So it was all cool. It was all cool.
Yeah. So Jerry, let's talk about that race. So I mean, so many people, they go back to whatever happened, and the bump and run. That's part of the deal. I mean, I don't give a shit where you race. That's the way that we race these days. I mean, it's one of those things. But what I found fascinating watching your car, because the 26 was my pick that day, for you guys to come out of the box so quick, you had problems. You had to go to the back of the pack and to chase your way back to the front of the pack and be in a position to make that pass for the win. Walk us through that whole day for you guys. I mean, because it may have seemed like the end of the world early on, but you guys, man, you came back and damn it, you won the biggest short track stock car racing event in the country.
I mean, it was really a surreal moment. Around lap 25, 30, when we had the debris on the grill, it's like, all right, no problem. We got to come in and fix this. We tried to get the debris off the grill, so we didn't pit on the first lap that the lead lap cars could come in. So we had to start dead last. We didn't get to hold our position with the cars that pitted. So it's like, all right, we lost 10 more positions than we planned on. We planned on losing some, but we lost all of it. It's like, all right. And our spotter, Chris Lambert, who was Denny Hamlin's spotter and Chandler's spotter in the truck series, just says, all right, we got 250 laps to get back to first. We don't have to win it on the next lap.
Yep.
And in a way, it was kind of good because we found out what our car was doing in traffic. At the very beginning of the race, we were logging laps with Derek, just staying on his bumper, and the two cars were driving away from everybody. And it was logging laps and so on. But going out and having to pass every car on the track and seeing how the car reacted in different scenarios, we made an adjustment for that last run because of all of that. Now, if we'd been running up front all day, we may not have made that same adjustment. So, that was a really big deal. And my wife Melody and I, we started reading a Bible app on our phone and do a reading every morning. And I'm a firm believer in this. And she always gives me a hard time. She says, "You never ask for anything for yourself." I said, "I don't need anything."
Right.
The first thing I did that morning was I said my normal prayer like I normally do. And I says, "Please, God, let Chandler win the snowball." And it was a weird feeling because we had that restart right at the end, 15 to go, and a couple guys on the crew. We got a chance at this. And I says, "No, we don't have a chance at this. This is ours." I have no doubt in my mind. And I really firmly believe that one time I asked for something from God, he gave it. It's like, hold on, maybe I need to ask for more favors.
yeah, no doubt, man. Man, that's awesome. That's awesome. God,
yeah.
I love that.
Jerry, that one's hard to follow up. No, go ahead. Sorry.
And the other cool part is it was kind of an audition for me 2 weeks beforehand at New Smyrna. Chandler had won some races with Donnie Wilson's bunch and had a bunch of different crew chiefs. And I don't know what happened, whether it wasn't quite the right fit personality-wise or whatnot, but he says, "You come into the Derby with us?" And this is before the feature started. And I says, "Well, this is kind of my tryout." He says, "Well, I'm in if you're in." I says, "Heck yeah, I'm in." And it was really cool because, I used to do the truck series with John Hunter Nemechek in his rookie year. So watching Chandler, driving KBM stuff on TV, you can see he's got talent, but you don't know until you actually work with him. And between the preparation done in the shop by the whole group with Bond and Dennis and all, and then getting to work with Chandler, and it's like, wow, Donnie's put together such a good team that this is almost too easy. Chandler's telling me, "I need help at this corner." We make a change and it gets even faster every time we go on the track. So
right.
I'm glad I really got to work with Chandler and Donnie and Bond and a whole bunch.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jerry, how hard was it for Chandler to make the adjustment back into super late models from the trucks? I mean, is it something that was seamless? I know he talked about, seeing the air that made him go a little faster in the corners, knowing about drafting and stuff like that. You talked about him helping out. Want to know which corners was going to do what with the car. I mean, was it easy for him to get acclimated back in a super late model after racing a truck?
It is, because he raced that car, or not that exact car, but he raced for Donnie, I want to say like 6 or 8 times this summer. He won a couple races. He had a couple races that he was the best car, and, mechanical issues happened, again, the weird parts failures and stuff that should never happen when they're brand new cars and good people assembling stuff, but that happens. We, when we were at the Governor's Cup, we led 115 laps the race, and something came up and broke the oil pump belt off. It's like, all right, we led every practice, we win time trials, we lead the race, and we still don't have anything for show for it. After the Snowball Derby, I'm giving Chandler a hug. I said, I don't know if I want to work with you anymore. He goes, why? He says, we only led 15 laps. 15 laps. We led 115 the first race. He says, I'll take the last 15. You can have the first 115.
That's right.
I said, I'll agree with that one. So
Yeah. I love that. And with Chandler, I mean, what you're talking about with him, isn't it neat? I mean, because we talk about daddy's money and all this stuff. I mean, it's just a byproduct of what we do these days. Isn't it neat to have a kid that wants to be involved? I mean, because I grew up racing. I was a race fan. I started racing. My dad made me get out there and work on race cars if I wanted to drive. Isn't it cool to have a kid behind the wheel and doing really good things that is actually involved for a change?
It really shocked me, because I've worked with a lot of people in the last few years, and only a couple of them have the desire to want to be part of the team. They want to show up and drive the race car, and that's all good and dandy, fine and dandy, but it's like, all right, I knew a little bit about Chandler, but he was as hands-on. Like, after the practice at New Smyrna, he's looking underneath, and he's making suggestions on what we can do to get better for the next race.
Right.
And then even after qualifying for the Derby, qualify second quick, and hey, if we do this for next year, it'll help us, a little bit more. It's like, wow, for a 19-year-old kid, and that's what he is as a kid, but, I mean, he's got a lovely wife, great family, but he's still a kid. I'm 56 years old, and I'm older than his father is, and it's like, this kid wants this so much that he wants to learn every aspect of the car.
Yeah.
And by learning that, he's a great driver, but by learning all that stuff that goes with it, it just makes him that much stronger.
Yeah, so important. So important to know what you're driving and know how to adjust that stuff. Lastly, for you, Jerry, what's up in 2022? I mean, are you doing more stuff with Donnie? What's happening for you, the championship crew chief of the Snowball Derby?
Well, there's a lot of stuff up in the air. Chandler says, you want to do some more races next year? I said, sign me up for every one you want to do. And I says, this is great. And then a couple of the races that he planned on doing, some laps got cut short on them, and so on. He says, well, I'd like to do longer races, and to me, 100 laps was long. I was used to being a 35 or 40 lap racer.
Right.
So,
yeah, me too.
100 laps to him is nothing. He wants 150, 200, 300, 400, however it takes. So I hope to be doing some more races with him. I'm working up here in Maine for myself and a guy that I raced with a couple times a couple years ago, trying to put together a driver development deal, and because he has some extra race cars, his son races, and we got a couple extra race cars there, so I'm assembling them now, and we're going to try to do a driver development / rental program up here in New England, but, everything is still, whoever calls next might be my lucky, $1 million caller. And, like, go ahead, caller. You're on the air. So
hell yeah, man.
But I'm really hoping to do a dozen or so races with Chandler next year. That would be my primary goal, and then to fill in the rest of the year with this driver development program or a couple other projects I'm working on.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Great story, man. Congratulations on that big win. And dude, it's so fun. And I've always said the best guys to be wrenching on these race cars, to be a crew chief, are the guys that have driven them in the every level. And you are every bit that part, my friend.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, man. Thanks so much for taking the time. Happy holidays, and let's stay in touch, buddy.
I will. Definitely will. Merry Christmas to all.
All right, you bet. Take care from Texas.
Okay.
All right. There he is. Man, love it. Love it when good things happen to good people.
That's right. It's a hell.
Man.
I'd say it's a hell of a story with his conversation with God that morning that made him win the Snowball Derby.
Man. that goes back to every now and then, it's
It works out like it's supposed to.
check in with somebody else. I mean, check in with the higher power, because there are people that could help us. And Bobby, I'll go to that. I mean, it took me a lot of years to ask for help. I mean, what a great story. And thank you, Phil Whipple, for putting that together. Jerry Babb, I just love that story. It's really good stuff. So, man, I love it. Here again is your Revved Up Sports Show question of the week. What was the biggest short track racing highlight for you in 2021? Give 21 a letter grade. I don't care, whatever track you go to. Let us know what you thought. And if you start giving Fs, F you, because we were lucky to have a racing season.
Get the grade and say why.
And I think we did, quite frankly, really well.
If you want to give it an F, give it an F, but tell us why.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the biggest thing. You can give it any grades you want to, but kind of put some context with the grade.
Yeah. I saw Deborah Brusso checking in, and here it is, Deborah. There it is. And that is a beautiful bell. I mean, it is polished up nicely. I mean, the one that I sent you guys, the one that I sent you guys had all this, generic ghetto-looking handwriting on it for all the years that we've done this year. But thank you guys. And like we said, it smells really well. It smells really good. It smells like a paint shop.
You got a polished bell for Christmas. That's just great.
I would just like to say the only thing that would be better. Well, never mind. Never mind. Anyway, but just great conversation right there with Jerry, and
it's nice to see good things happen to good people,
man,
right?
I know that all the time. My wife always says that, and it's taken me a long time in life to realize that how important that is. But you get guys, and I think with the racing, I think that's where we really see it in our sport on the short track side. Is that people, I mean, you get into great opportunities and the good things start to happen. And for Jerry to have that knowledge and everything, and seriously for me, to listen to him, 56-year-old man with that northern accent talking to a dude from Georgia.
Mm-hmm. Can you imagine that? I was going to ask about the communication.
Can you imagine that race conversation? I can only imagine. I bet Jerry's dropping all these northern things and Chandler's like, what?
Like Cole Trickle and Harry Hogg in Days of Thunder right there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for that to happen, I mean, that is just awesome. And I mean, the whole thing right there, I mean, for him to be impressed with a young kid, because that is a thing. I mean, we talk to so many people where it's like somebody hands me this young kid and I have to deal with it. And money talks and the bullshit walks. But man, those guys, they put this thing together and they won that race. I know it was questionable at the end. I mean, I know that we had the bump and run and every Derek Thorne, 283 laps, whatever it was. But I mean, these guys, they chased their way all the way through the field. Mm-hmm. They had to go to the pits, and I mean, kick-ass win. I don't care.
No, I mean, I think it's still one of those great finishes in motorsports. Just the way with everything racing now, and there's always going to be that discussion. I think that the question that sometimes remains is that, do you want to be part of the discussion or not? I mean, that's 2 years in a row. Derek Thorne's been on the wrong side of a little bit of a bump and run, and he's lost the race both times. So does he want to be part of the conversation again? I mean, look at the way that Ty Majeski kind of owned it a little bit last year. And even Chandler owned it this year when he came up to him and said, or came up to the camera and said, I mean, I got into him. I didn't dump him. I just rubbed him. Yep. He went up the racetrack and I took off, got the lead. So, I mean, I think part of that, too, there probably would have been a little bit more retaliation if you didn't have a team car right there running in third, trying to get to second.
Yeah. That's the whole thing with all of that. And I don't know. I mean, the bottom line, these guys, they went out there, they did what they needed to do. And they took care of business, and they're champions of the Snowball Derby. And again, you correlate the whole thing with the North versus South, and I think it's really tremendous that you have that cooperation right there, and you can actually put these teams together, and there you go. I mean, what a great story for Jerry.
Awesome story for Jerry and Chandler and the whole Donnie Wilson racing much. We remember when Donnie, like you said, was the outlaw invader from Oklahoma running down here.
Yeah, no doubt. And I love the post there from Gina. Gina, I would love to play that song. I would love to play Ring My Bell. But when I play that, they're going to take my shit down. It's happened. It has happened in the past. I can't jump in there to those copyright things. But anyway, we're going back to the Lone Star Speed Zone hotline. There's a lot of things that are happening back here in Texas. We were talking about Snowball, talking up north. You've got tracks that are doing things. We have track releases that are coming out, and I know we're kind of keeping this on the bottom line about who's going to be the person coming on to talk about their racetrack. But we went in, and it's been a lot of communication with a lot of people. A lot of people. But we are going because one of the tracks that I think that is so important to Texas short track racing, especially with the gap that we have in that San Antonio area, is I-37 Speedway. And we saw rules that came out, and there's stuff that is in place. So we kind of dug in around, and we figured out who's in charge. And it's one of our favorites that is, luckily for you guys at 37, still the guy that's doing stuff right now on the hotline. It is our man, Texas Sweet Tea, Johnny Torres. JT, how we doing, brother?
I'm doing good in that. How y'all guys doing?
We're doing well, man. We're doing well.
All right, so Johnny, let's start off the bat. How's things rocking down there in I-37? I know you, I wouldn't say you had a bad first year as the overall promoter. I think you had a few more hiccups than what you wanted there in the beginning, but it seems like you guys finally got it on track. What would you give your season down there? Like we said, the Lone Star Speed Zone question of the week is what grade would you give your local racing facility? So we'll ask you the same thing. What was the highlight for you? And then what kind of letter grade would you give I-37 for this year?
I'm always trying to be realistic. I'd go with a D minus.
Oh shit!
It was not what I expected. It was bumpy. It was the track conditions at the beginning of the year was a little bit tough. I worked on it too hard, got it too wet, and then just as far as the smoothness of the show, we didn't end past midnight all season. So, but I think I kind of got to where I was just trying to make the show go so fast.
Yeah, I
forgot about trying to make the show fun. And I think I got a little bit overwhelmed at times. I feel like going into the second year, I say that I'm not saying it was a total fail because I passed, but I barely passed. So I feel like there's a lot of improvement that could be made, though. How much fun we have with the races, a little bit of how early we get out of there. Just the professionalism could be stepped up. There's a lot of little things that fell through the cracks that I think I can make better. I think as a whole, it was a successful year. It was, I learned a lot. I learned a ton. So going on to fifth grade, we're gonna be a little bit smarter now. So I wasn't really sure if I wanted to do this, but I'm not gonna go, for another year. But I'm not gonna go out as far as to where I didn't think it was great. When I do say I don't want to do this crap no more, I want it to be great. Like, man, that was a good year you had. And I'd be like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah. Well,
I want it to be good, a lot better than it was.
Well, but I think part of that, Johnny, is you have to give yourself a little bit of a break right there because you jump into this. We're all armchair promoters. We sit and we watch whether you're on the track or in the grandstands. But you're thrust into this and you help save the track, for crying out loud. But I think the thing for you is, once you get your boots on the ground, I saw this at CTS. Once you get your boots on the ground, it's a totally different situation when you're like running the whole shit.
Oh yeah, and for everything you do, for everything I think, okay, that's good. Well, somebody has, this is what I would do. And then, I know. And you got 5 people saying you do 5 different things, and you can only do one of them. So it's not going to make everybody happy.
Yep.
As far as something I can work on is getting people in place to where it makes everybody happy. It's tough. It's tough to please everybody. I'd like to please at least 3/4 of them because you're never going to please all of them.
Right.
I've seen, even when I go race at other places now, I don't know how many tracks I defended this year.
Yeah.
Because they're saying, oh, well, how about this? And how about the show ran late? And how about... I'm like, look, how about you try to do it? I saw a lot of good races that I went to that I was involved with, and this took too long. But it was fun,
Yeah.
and people just hate to break it to them. They like to complain, and I'm like, come on, you got to realize the good in all this stuff too, not just the bad.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's where you've changed a little bit, Johnny. We've had you on a show multiple times, and I think that it's so different when you put the promoter's perspective in there and having to defend other tracks. To paraphrase our buddy Joe Spillman, he said that for some people it doesn't matter what they think until they start putting the checks out themselves. So, to paraphrase Joe's wonderful little quote that day. But I think you got to give yourself a little bit more credit. I mean, first year, all things given, the first year, I think you guys had a more success than what you're willing to give yourself a little credit for. Was there a hiccup along the way? Sure, but every track has a hiccup every now and then. So I think that sometimes when you look through close to the microphone, you look too close to the magnifying glass, you don't get to see the overall big picture sometimes. And I think maybe you got to give yourself a little bit more credit than a D- for what you had going on at I-37, because you guys had a couple of successful shows down there.
I actually talked to a few people would come up to me after the races, and surprisingly, I didn't get a lot of complaints at the races. It was mostly on social media, because I want people to come tell me, hey, this is where I think you're doing wrong, or this is where I think to make the show better. But I've had more people come up to me at the races and say, hey, I want you to know you're doing a great job.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I really enjoy coming here. And I'm like, man, really? Are you not just saying this because you're trying to make me feel better? Nope. And I'm like, because I don't know if you noticed, but tonight we had a lot of issues. He's like, we couldn't tell from the stands. I'm like, oh, well, I guess that's all that really matters,
Yeah. Well, you're getting great support on the feed. I can tell you that. I mean, so many people, Chuck Perry's checking in, telling you what a great job you did. But isn't that the crazy part? Because I think that so many times we measure the performance of the show because we're on the backside and we see everything that happens. But I think to the naked eye of the fan, they have no idea what we're really struggling with on the front side.
Yeah, and I guess as long as we can make it a good successful show to the outside, it's a success that night, I felt like a lot of nights were like, oh, that didn't go very well, and then like on the outside it was good. So really, I mean, if it looked good, that's what it's all about. If the racers had fun and the fans had fun, then they'll come back.
Yeah.
So Johnny, one of our questions of the week back in the off season when it first started, we were talking about rule changes and stuff along those lines right there, and there was the biggest controversy of, we used you yourself as an example about, as a promoter you wanted X set of rules, as a racer you wanted X set of rules. So how did that process come about when you finally set on your 2022 rules, and now's your chance to talk about the changes of 2022?
I went with the promoter. I thought about the guy with which I'm not saying I'm above that, but the guy with the average budget,
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll take Sport Mods, for instance, on the quick change and the Bryn. So I thought about this. I'm like, okay, I'd love to have a quick change in a Bryn because, I mean, I've lost a few big races because of those transmissions. But so I would do it. I'd figure out how to get all that stuff. But this guy that's running sixth place, barely getting by, thinking, I don't know if I want to do this. He's going to refresh his motor, which is going to be about $4,500.
Right.
Well, now, and the normal guy's going to, okay, well, I'll freshen my motor. I'll buy some pistons here, and we'll get it done over the off season. Well, you tell this guy now he's got to buy a Bryn and a quick change.
Yeah.
Another $6,000, $6,500. So you tell that guy now we're going to spend $10,000 over the off season. He's probably going to say, screw this. I'm just going to sit this season out. Then this season comes into 2 seasons, and he's like, my car's old now. I'm just going to, quit racing. And the class, I mean, the sport can't afford that. We can't afford for anybody to quit racing. So I went with the promoter side and actually left all the rules the same. I went with IMCA rules, and they didn't change anything except for the spoiler high school.
Oh man, that's awesome. I love that. And don't you think that so much of it, it has to be the consistency. I know on the pavement side, that's what killed so many tracks is that, shit would change all the time and trying to evolve and do all these different things. You have to be consistent. You have to, whether it be with the rules and on the tech side, you have to be consistent on calls, everything. You have to keep that all in line, or otherwise you're going to have guys that are going to bail on you.
You're right. And now the factory stock deal, if you want to get into that, that's totally different. That's changing a lot, and I don't agree with that. So, but I did go 100% rules along with Boot Hill, which Hard Texas did the same thing, Marianne did the same thing, and I just feel like there's that class is so big, I got to fall in line with everybody else.
Yeah.
And, one day that factory stock class will evolve, and it's getting pretty expensive now.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll just be that circle of, well, let's start a new pure stock class.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be pretty much like a street stock. Well, factory stock is pretty much more expensive now than an old style street stock.
Yeah.
But I feel like I had to follow along with everybody else on that.
Yeah, yeah. And well done, by the way.
But something that I'm excited about is I've actually, because last year we had to change a couple of things. If I wanted to go myself race at Cotton Bowl, well, now the factory stock rules are exactly the same. If you want to race here, you want to race Cotton Bowl, you want to race Waco, you want to go to the big 10,000 one in Boot Hill, it's exactly the same. So we can go, we can branch out a little bit and go race some of those bigger races and not have to change some things. South Texas has always been kind of our own deal. Well, we're not at all now. We're in line with everybody else. It's going to be a little bit of changes over the off season, but you can race anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
So Johnny, we got the rules thing squared away. That's good. That's one of the first things that the drivers look for. The next thing they look for, including the fans, is going to be your 2022 schedule. Any update on that? Working with some of the other tracks around there to try to make sure you guys get enough dates for all the race cars down in South Texas?
Yeah, I've been I don't want to spill too many beans here, so I got to watch my words. But I've been in contact with everybody around here and the tracks, and they've all been working with me. And between all of us, we tried the whole not racing on top of each other at all. We're going to have to a little bit, but we're going to keep it to a minimum. So I have been working on my schedule for about 2 weeks now. We're going to start on the last weekend of February, and the schedule should be done within the next 2 or 3 days. It's just I'm checking it over. I'm checking here. I'm checking there. It's just like, once I put it out, I don't want to have to retrack and But I think it's gonna be pretty good. It's tough because you got 4 tracks around here, and then you have a couple of big races you don't want to schedule on top of, and then at the same time, I have bosses also, and
Sure.
They want at least 18 races, so I got to put at least 18 races out there. I'm like, it's kind of a juggling effect. So I'm pretty close to. I've scratched it out a few times and then added dates back, and we're pretty close. We'll get there. I know for sure though we're going to start on February 27th. So just like last year, the last weekend in February.
Yeah.
And we'll kind of have that as a non-points race, and just kind of get everything. I call it a Frostbuster. I might name it something different this year, but just kind of get everybody ready to go.
Santa Claus checking his list and checking it twice.
Yeah, I've checked it definitely more than twice. I just don't want to make a wrong decision.
No.
For those that know me, just like on the race car, I'm going to check it again, I'm going to check it again, and then I'm going to worry about it still after I do it. So,
yeah.
I'm that type. I'm going to worry about it, and I'm going to try to make sure it's right.
Yeah. So, Johnny, I have to ask you, man, I saw that you sold all your stuff. I mean, I saw the factory was sold and the sport mod or limited mod, whatever you want to call it. I mean, what's in store? I mean, it's a full-time job running the place. And I know that, running at your own track, that's a whole different can of worms right there. But what's going to happen with the wheel in your hand? Are you really going to step away from that, or just kind of keep those opportunities open, as they come about?
What I kind of was joking was, the joking was I'm retiring. I'm not doing it anymore, which
Oh.
I did have a little bit. I had so much bad luck this year. It's kind of it just got me frustrated. Then people come up and ask me, man, what happened this year? You had a bad season. I'm like, wait, I don't think I had that bad of a season. I won almost half the races I entered.
That's what I'm thinking.
And I've never won that many races compared to the amount of races I entered. I never won 50% of my races ever. And I'm thinking I probably won about 35% this year. I'm like, I wouldn't call that a bad year. I still won 7 races, and didn't get to race a whole lot. So, and if it wasn't for part malfunctions, I would have had a couple more wins. I'm like, I don't feel like I had a bad year. I actually think I had a good year, but I just didn't race as much. So I didn't win championships. I didn't race. So yeah, as far as the quitting, I'm not going to race a sport mod. That's not. I've been doing that since I was 15 years old, 34 now. It's time for something different. I kind of want a modified, but the budget, that's pretty tough. So I was just kind of thinking about it, and I don't know what I'm going to do. But I'm sitting there on the couch the other night. I don't know if we're watching TV or what, but so my stepdaughter looks at me, well, what are you going to do if you don't race? I'm like, I don't know. Nothing, I race. I'll still race, and she's like, "Well, that's pretty much the only thing you're known for is racing, and you're decent at it, so you might as well do it." I was like, "Well, geez, you don't think I'd be good at anything else? I mean, maybe I don't know, take up some other sport, but
damn it,
I'm not really fit for
Johnny,
any more sports." So.
Johnny, just don't get a tuner.
No, I'm
just don't start racing the freaking tuners, my man.
Not getting a tuner. But yeah, the factory stock wasn't mine. But I think it's still available, so I might race that a little bit.
There it is. There it is.
There's a couple other little things, but I'd like to. I don't know. I think I'd like to get a little more serious with the whole factory stock deal, and because I don't know if y'all seen many of my interviews with the Race on Texas. I just kind of the factory stock sits there, and then we air up the tires and go race it.
Yep.
If I treated it like I treat my sport mod, which that breaks all the time, so I don't know how good that is, but I mean, I think I could be pretty successful in the factory stock deal if I put some time into it.
I think you could too.
So that seems where the action's at. So that's a little enticing. I'd like to be more of a winning force in that. I think I raced it. I won a race at Edna, but I think I only raced about 5 times this year.
That's right.
And I don't know. I'd maybe like to take that a little bit more serious.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm still unsure though. It won't be a tuner. It won't be a limited modified.
Love it.
But yeah, I've actually, for the first time since I was a little kid, I have no race card and no plans of buying one right now.
Damn! Wow. Santa's not going to know what to do when he passes your house this week.
Yeah, I know it. No, there's been no Dave Motorsports showed up to my house lately. So they probably think I moved or something.
I'm sure Brandy loves that. I'm sure Brandy's like, thank God.
So
no, she's like, well, what are you gonna race? Because that's what we do. We race. I mean, you get mad I go racing all the time. I'm mad I'm gonna quit racing.
It's funny how that works.
No, I'm sure she wants to race, and that, like I told, I think we're at a concert with
I saw that. Yeah, with Stevie. Yeah.
With Stevie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I don't know. Like, I talk about not racing, but all my buddies, they all race. All we do is talk about racing. All I watch on TV is racing. Like
these guys are at a concert talking about racing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we were watching the Dome on his phone. The race at the Dome. I'm like, well,
love it.
It's gonna be kind of hard to quit. The first time. I mean, I've actually been through a stretch of I'm just gonna take a little break, and then the first time I go, because I actually enjoy watching racing.
Sure.
Most racers don't. They say, I'm a racer. I'm like, what? I enjoy watching racing.
Oh, me too.
I went to Vegas with Stevie, and I crewed for him for a week, and I had a blast.
Yeah.
Just crewing for him. I just like being around the races more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
And but as soon as I go, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I want to race. You know, so I'm sure that no racing won't last very long.
Yep.
So Johnny, I want to put your promoter's hat back on. You're talking about wanting to get back into racing. What's your take on this different deal between the E-Mod and the Junior Limiteds? To me, it makes more sense to run an E-Mod class instead of Junior Limited because you can get more racers coming in the back gate of all ages versus just trying to get the kids, so to speak, up and running in the Junior Limiteds. From the promoter's perspective on that, and I know that you had an E-Mod race at I-37 last year that actually turned out to be relatively successful. Marianne ran a Junior Limited race that seemed to be remotely successful for her. Where do you stand on that battle between the E-Mod class and the Junior Limited class?
I mean, I think there needs to be a class for the kids, but the E-Mod just makes more sense as a promoter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm sure as a father, you know, I'm sure they want their kids to not race against adults, but I mean, I think I'm right. When any of us started racing, we didn't get to race in our own class with just kids. You know, we were just thrown out there. Hey, you're racing now. You know, so it wasn't. You know, it wasn't. Hey, you're gonna race with other kids. It was you're gonna go out there and race. So I'm more in favor of the E-Mods over the Junior Limiteds because I mean, I just think it's just a better class, and it's an affordable class. I actually love the E-Mod class. It's affordable. There's more people to draw from. I shouldn't say a better class. There's more cars to draw from, you know, because if you want a V8 race car now, what class are you going to start off in? Because factory stocks, you know, that's throwing you out there in the lion's den.
Right.
So what's an affordable entry level V8 class? And not, you know, we have a lot of racers that getting into racing that aren't kids, you know.
Yeah.
Factory stock's where that used to be, but that's just not the case anymore.
Not so much.
I'm sure you could, but I mean, the E-Mods just seem like a really good entry level class, or just an affordable class, because there's some people that just want to race and have fun and not take it too serious. And you know, with the Junior Limited, it's just your customer base is pretty small, so you got to think about the fans. Do the fans really want to watch, you know, 5 cars out there? And I'm sorry, but I watch a few of them, but 5 cars spinning out, you know, 20 times.
Yeah.
It's eventually they're not, you know, they're gonna get tired of that too. And so I'm a fan of the Ecos. But, you know, it's going to make me sound kind of like a prick, but I'm really not a fan of the Junior Limited.
Yeah. I get it, man. I totally get it. And you're exactly right. I mean, for me, the first race that I ran at San Antonio in '86, I think it was, I was 14. And my dad threw me out in an Enduro 250. Your dad was the tech guy, I think, probably that day. And I'm sitting there driving, and Leroy Farmer drives around the outside of me, you know, lapping me many, many times. Yeah. And I'm like, shit! I thought this was a beginner race. What? And
you know, you don't want to grow bad habits racing with only kids, you know, right. And I don't want to sound mean about that.
That's
but
true.
You kind of got to grow up at some point. And actually, I'm sure y'all are familiar with him, Joe Horn.
Oh yeah.
I was 14 years old, and I raced my first race, and this car just runs into the back of me, and it was Joe Horn's car that I'm driving.
No.
I mean, I'm thinking, man, did I make this guy mad? And then I get out, I was like, somebody hit me really hard. And he's like, well, I did. I want to be the first one to say that I knock the crap out of you.
Oh,
so you're going to get it eventually, so I want to be the first one. And he just kind of laughed, and I laughed, and, you know, it wasn't no babying anybody about it. You know, you're racing with men, you're going to drive like a man now.
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally get it. I mean, that same race, AJ Padalecki, like, what the hell's this? I'm like, I'm just trying to stay out of the way.
It makes you grow up pretty fast.
Yeah, it does. It really does, and I think that's so important. But JT, so I think the main thing to come out of this, I think for folks to understand, is you guys, you've got the rules out. The 37 rules are out. The schedule is coming. I think for everybody there that great supporters of the racetrack, you guys are solidifying that 37 is going to be back. There's going to be a place to race. You're going to have a great schedule, and you guys are moving forward, because you never know. And that's always this time of year. People are thinking, well, is this track going to open, whatever. But you guys seem to be on point.
Yeah, I just wanted to put, I got a lot of questions when I was racing at Corpus for their big show.
Yeah.
Well, here, y'all guys going to be open, and I'm like, I never really thought we were thinking about closing.
Right.
It's like, yeah, well, I heard, so-and-so said y'all weren't going to open. I'm like, well, it's a good thing you come and ask me second. You should have asked me first, because the track's going to be open. And whether, Michael Keelik and Ray Doyle, they're going to open the track, with or without me,
right.
Is what I would assume. So it's like, I don't think that was ever a question. It's like, I didn't know people needed reassurance, I guess you could say, but nowadays with tracks closing so much, they need that reassurance that it's opening, and it's going to happen, and I'm going to do it, and I'm excited about making it better, making something better. I kind of described it as like a racer that's racing his first season.
Yeah.
They're never that great their first year, they get better, and a lot of times even, their sophomore year is a lot better.
Yes, sir.
So, I'm going into this with a plan. I know what to expect now, and I'm excited. I think it's going to be a whole lot better. I think a lot of people had a lot of fun last year, and I think maybe we can build a better brand this year. A better name for ourselves this year, and if anybody raced into the year, they knew the track surface was really good, and they got out of there, matter. So I think people that have been there kind of know, aren't afraid to go back, and our fan base and racers, I think it'd be bigger this year.
Yeah. I agree. And the thing is, for you, man, don't be so hard on yourself. Because it, like you said, you were going into a totally different environment. It's totally, man, when you're on the front side, it's, you got everybody coming at you in that social media thing, whatever. But you can only do what you can do. And, I think you did a great job. And just the fact that you're going to be involved again, it's much appreciated. You are keeping there's a market there in San Antonio where it's outside of San Antonio, but you draw the San Antonio people in. And I know that's near and dear to your heart. You want to give those folks a place to race.
Oh yeah. And now with the drag strip, unfortunately the drag strip is closed, and it's not looking too good for them. I think maybe our fan base, and there's a lot of gearheads that just like to be involved with racing, and I think that'll make the track grow also, fans and racers. So I'm getting a little bit more excited about the season, getting everything in place, and I think it'll be a success. I won't settle for anything less than a B+ this year.
Oh man.
Nice. See, we heard the rumor you were going to buy the drag strip is the last thing that we heard, and put a circle track over there.
If it's any more than $10, I can't afford it.
I love it, man. I love it. Good stuff, JT, man. Thanks for jumping on here and letting people know 37 is still going, and I'm excited for you guys, and man, thanks for keep giving back to this sport, man. You're one of the guys. You're a younger guy, and you know what it's all about, and it's much appreciated, brother.
Well, I really appreciate y'all having me. I really appreciate what y'all do for the sport. I listen all the time. If I have anything that comes up, I'll definitely give you a holler.
You got it, man. You know the number. Just let me know, and let's make it all good there at 37. Proud of you, man.
All right, well, y'all take care.
You bet. Take care.
See you, Johnny.
There he is, Johnny Torres, and that's for him to jump into that when he said D+. I'm like, come on, man,
grade yourself on a curve, man.
Yeah, man. Give yourself a little bit of credit right there. Just the fact is, no promoter should get anything lower than a C for the simple fact that they're trying to do it.
Well, I don't know. There are some promoters that after a while do have to get
Well,
an F.
it's one thing if you fuck it all up. Man, I've done that 2 weeks in a row. If you screw it up after you've done it for a little bit, but I mean, this dude jumps in and it's a culture shock. I mean, for him, I mean, we're all jockey act promoters. I mean, we all know better until it's like,
there's the check.
Here it is. Do it. And I think they did really well. And I mean, their track only got better. And I think the main thing is for them, they've got a great supporting cast out there. You know, like he's talking about the folks behind the scenes with Doyon and Keelik. They're going to have the place open. But I think when you put a face in front of the whole thing, I think that's really so important because you think about Marianne with Cotton Bowl.
It seems like you're right. Every track has the face now. That used to not be the case. The track itself used to be the face of the track.
It's so important.
Now your promoter has to be the most important face to the track.
When this dude before Marianne was running Cotton Bowl, they couldn't get people out there. And then Marianne jumps in here and she's running the place. And it's like, oh, I want to go race for Marianne. And it's all these guys that ran pavement. And here we are. I mean, you've got.
They still won't pay the place.
Well, and you got Bruce O'Bell, and you've got Thunderhill, what, east? Yeah, Thunderhill east.
Thunderhill, county line, Thunderhill
southeast, whatever. And that's really the thing. And I mean, like with Texana, you've got Owen that comes in here, and this dude comes in and he's bringing all the people. He's bringing all the people from Corpus and all these places. And Gina is the face of the Gulf Coast Racing Series, and people want to race for them, and they understand there's going to be hiccups. But it really is. I mean, it's the face, and you want to race for the promoter. And I really think that Johnny is, because I mean, trail this thing back. I mean, Frank Torres is a guy that, you know, he was a tech guy at San Antonio, like I was talking about there with all of that, and with the Texas Dirt Speedway. I mean, all of that. People are going to come to where they feel comfortable. I mean, that's human nature. I mean, you're going to go where you feel embraced and you feel loved, and it has to be somebody that's like we talk about John Melise. There's got to be a puppet master, and that's really what the freaking race promoter has become these days.
Well, it has to be. You have so many different hats you have to wear. You got to worry about the financial side. Then you got to worry about the racing side.
Absolutely.
Then you got to worry about the front gate. Then you got to worry about food. Then you have to worry about rules and
everything.
Everything. It's not as simple, especially on a dirt track. Throw in track prep for the dirt track people.
No doubt.
But you know, when you have to throw it all out there and everybody has to think, it's always. Everybody thinks it's a hell of a lot easier to be a promoter till they actually come time to be a promoter.
Yeah.
Every promoter that we know that stepped out on that edge, or over the edge to be the promoter that used to be a racer or that used to be a fan or whatever the case may be, every single one of them, from the Kevins to Marianne to Gina, even when we talked to Johnny, every single one of them said it was a hell of a lot harder than they thought it was going to be because there was something they never thought would be a problem, became a problem.
It's always harder once you get on the backside of that. And I mean, for me, it was shell shock. I mean, yeah, I got to announce and all this stuff. And then they're like, be on the management team. I'm like, sure, I'll do it, whatever. Man, there was so much. There was so much that happens on the backside, and I really do think, like talking to Jerry Babb right there, we look at the whole sport in general. It's people that have been involved that make the best crew chiefs or promoters or tech guys or whatever the case is, because we understand. Because you can't plug and play people in. I mean, Tim Self, great example. He had his team when they started CTS. He's like, here's how we're doing it, and they failed.
Yeah.
I mean, it was horrible. I mean, it was terrible. And he called me and he's like, we got to get some people that know what the hell's going on around here. Yeah. And that was really the resurgence of CTS at that point. But all of these tracks, and you just don't beat these guys up, and you have to appreciate the guys and ladies that really make it happen, because it's a small circle. It is a very small circle of people that can do this and do it right. And Johnny Torres being the face of I-37, especially if he's going to dial back some of the racing. And I hate to say that because I know he's a racer, but if he's going to be in that capacity, at some point you do have to back out from that just a little bit. Go race somewhere else.
Go race somewhere else. He'll have the opportunity to race other places. So yeah. Looks like the South Texas market's getting all their ducks in a row, and it'll be nice to see once we get some information about Texana, get some information coming up about South Texas, which we're all assuming South Texas is going to be open. We hadn't heard anything otherwise. So
yeah, I'm assuming that place is going to be open. Speaking of that, I got a message during this program. I told you guys tomorrow, tune in at 6 p.m. right here on this channel and RevvedUpSportsShow.com, RevvedUpSportsShow.tv. Special edition with just I've got a special guest. Bobby's going to be at the bowl game. Bobby's got to go do his thing, but I'm going to jump on here and I'll have a special guest and we'll elaborate just on stuff happening around Central Texas and South Central Texas and just stuff that's happening. I mean, it's funny. It's the best time of the year, and Texas racing continues to give.
That's right. There may be Santa Claus may be bringing something that everybody wanted.
That's right. Yeah, Santa Claus is Rudolph is going to be flying over. I mean, because there are things, and seriously, guys. I mean, support these people. I mean, they're doing this for the love of the sport. Johnny Torres, I guarantee you, he ain't gonna break the bank promoting I-37. And I mean, I don't know what they pay him, but I guarantee you, he ain't gonna freaking retire. And
it's okay to tell your promoter thank you.
No shit.
Like even like not necessarily when they pay you at the end of the night. Tell the track staff thank you. Tell the promoter, hey, thanks. We had a good time. Even if you don't win the race, find the promoter and say, hey, find something positive to tell the promoter. Hell, say the track was good, the hot dog was good, the service in the pit stands was good. You know, the announcer was fantastic. Tell them anything.
Especially if it's somewhere where I'm at.
Yeah, that's right. Tell the promoter anything positive because they definitely like to hear more positive stuff than negative stuff.
Well, and the whole thing is, I mean, even if it's a shitty night, even if it's a bad night, go tell them thank you. And then when you're mad, like we were talking about social media, Charlie Strong said it, downfall of society. When you want to complain, call them. Yeah. Message them, email them. You ain't got to tell everybody else, because that's where all these, jockey acts that only know how to, I don't know why I'm using that word. That's an old word. The people that can only comment like this, that's where they jump on, and they are hurting your freaking track. Because all these other people see, you never know. I mean, with I-37, let's say that North Park Toyota wanted to go sponsor the racetrack, and is the perfect night at the racetrack. North Park Toyota wants to go sponsor the track, and they see all you people bitching about all this stuff. They ain't going to do it when they see that.
Not a lick. They're not going to put a lick of money in it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. There's still conversation. Yeah, that's good question about the junior limiteds and all that. That's a tricky one. I still think you need the E-Mod over the junior limited because, like Johnny said, it opens up the door to more clientele. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know what it's like to race against kids and have kids kick your ass in a race car. They did. They beat me in an I-5 senseless. A couple of them did, but that was the tuners. The tuners serve their purpose.
Yeah,
but I don't know if you have a full-fledged tuner class and a full-fledged E-Mod class. I don't know. You maybe have to alternate those per racing season. I don't know.
Man,
Owen's done a really good job integrating them into the show there at Texana.
Yeah.
Granted, they usually run last because they have a lot of spin out issues. But.
Yeah. I hate to be a fanboy here, but Waco does a really good job with those junior limiteds. But they do a good job with everything.
Yeah.
They have figured it out.
But they don't have a tuner class in Waco, do they?
No, they ain't got no tuners.
That's their entry level class.
Yeah,
most places would have a tuner class. They've got the junior limiteds.
Yeah, they put them all in those cars and let them have at it, and they don't run them all the time. I mean, it's a good balance right there. And I saw speaking of Waco, I mean their schedule is out, and it's fat and happy, just like it has been for the last 55 years. That's leverage.
That's right.
That is leverage right there. Here is that question. So you guys feel free to check in because we're about to check out of here because we're up against the time here. But there's that question. Feel free to continue to give the letter grades and say nice things. Johnny Torres said D, but come on, ain't nobody got no D. If you're keeping this thing alive, you don't need a D plus.
No. I mean, I think he deserved. I think even if he grades himself on a curve, he's still going to get a good solid C plus on a bad day.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It only got better. It
did. Was there hiccups in the beginning? Yeah, there were down there.
There's always going to be.
We're not going to say that there wasn't any hiccups down at I-37. I mean, there were. But I think that the way that track was able to adapt and evolve and overcome some of those issues they had at the beginning of the season is really good. And that's what you expect from your promoters and your management teams at racetracks, to improvise, adapt, and overcome.
Keep working. Yeah, that's the thing. Big thanks once again as Jerry Babb checked in, and Snowball Crew Chief Champion. That's got to be pretty cool, working for old Donnie Wilson. That's a good gig right there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he found. It's nice when everybody finds themselves a nice home. That's what he found. We always knew Donnie's stuff was really good.
Yeah.
But to get a third party in there, granted he's a crew chief on the winning Snowball Derby car.
Sure.
Just to talk about how many cars and how much, what a race super late model empire that Donnie Wilson's building over there.
The boy's done well. He's done it really, really well. And again, Johnny Torres checking in with us, I-37. I mean, the whole thing was for you people to know that you're going to have a place to race. Go out there, support Johnny, support them, and let them, just embrace that place, because think about the void if that place was going to be gone. And here we are sitting on December 20th, and you have just heard from a man that said, we will be racing with a full schedule. I think that's pretty cool.
That's good news, especially when they're this early. I mean, you've already got the schedule out for Cotton Bowl.
Yep.
Cotton Bowl schedule's out. Now, granted, it's been modified a couple of times. If you hadn't seen the newest one, they just updated again, changed some dates around with their Dwarf Car Nationals, or Dwarf Car. I think Waco's got the Dwarf Car Nationals, but some kind of big Dwarf Car race there at Cotton Bowl. And then you've got we found out the date of the Texas 600, Lone Star 600. It doesn't conflict with that, so you still got that to look forward to. So lots of good positive stuff happening here over the holidays here for Texas racing. And I think you'll probably be surprised tomorrow when we end up having the special guest.
Woo, man, you got to check in tomorrow, 6 o'clock right here, and at RevvedUpSportsShow.com, RevvedUpSportsShow.tv. I'm flying solo. Bobby's going to be up in Frisco freezing his ass off at the football game.
Go Roadrunners.
But check in. I'm going to have a really special guest, and we're dropping some stuff. We're doing this. It's happening tomorrow, 6 o'clock.
Big news.
Big news. Thank you all for being a part of the program. Thank you, Jerry Babb. Thank you, Johnny Torres. Thanks all of you for being a part of this. We'll wish you Merry Christmas later, because we got more programming coming up. So good stuff. Enjoy your Monday. Enjoy double football.
That's right.
Double football. Good
Tomorrow
stuff.
night, 6:30 kick. Come support the Roadrunners against San Diego State.
Check it out. Catch it on the Ticket 760, I think, is that live broadcast.
Live broadcast, and then live on ESPN, 6:30 kick.
Right on. For Bobby, I'm Rodney. We gone. See y'all tomorrow night.